Good morning. We're going to go ahead and start as a subcommittee, noting the absence of a quorum. There is an absence of a quorum. We are going to start with Senator Wolk with SCA 14. When you're ready.
Madam Chair and members, I'm bringing you SCA 14. That is a constitutional amendment that deals with transparency in our process. And the focus of it is the 72-hour notice. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time. We've had many policy hearings. The reason we're here in front of the Appropriations Committee is that the recordings and proceedings that will be required of us will cost money. And your analysis, we agree with that analysis, that there is an initial one-time cost of $2 million to bring the infrastructure up to modified or to whatever is needed, and there will be costs, as it says here, every 5 years, estimated to be about $1 million for equipment replacement as technology changes over time. And annual maintenance costs are estimated at $300,000, and then there is a one-time printing cost of $400,000 to deal with the statewide to deal with the ballot issues. In the SCA, there is a requirement that these recordings be funded by the legislature. So that is the cost, and the cost of transparency may be high. But is extremely important, and that's what SCA 14 is about. And it's a companion measure, AB 884, in which a lot of these things are detailed, is in the Senate and will make its way back here as well, I believe. So I ask for your aye vote, and I'd like to move this forward with your help.
Thank you. There was an hour-long hearing in Rules Committee yesterday on SCA 14, and the measure has not been amended since yesterday. So as we bring up supporters or opposition, we're going to ask that you focus on the fiscal implications when you testify today. As with any other bill, we will allow 2 witnesses, if there are any, on each side with up to 2 minutes each. All right, we have witnesses in support.
Madam Chair, members, Jim Ewart for the California Newspaper Publishers Association. We think that the analysis and the costs associated with this are pretty straightforward. Now, we also look at this as an investment, in the public's right to know, and that really can't be quantified. And for that reason, we ask for your aye vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional supporters? Witnesses in opposition?
Good morning, honorable legislators. I'm Charles Munger, Jr. I'm a proponent of the California Legislature Transparency Act, which is a initiative constitutional amendment and statute which will shortly be on the November ballot, or at least qualified to be so. And this SCA 14 is developed in response to it. We actually agree with the cost estimates which have been provided by the Honorable Senator. In particular, the Office of Legislative Analysts has so far come out that the capital costs are something like $1 to $2 million to set this up, and the ongoing annual costs are about $1 million. We did our own analysis of costs of setting and running the cameras and doing the archive and so forth, and that's what we came up with. So we're happy to concur in that rough estimate of the costs. We respectfully disagree with the structure in SCA 14 about its budgeting structure. The budgeting structure, SCA 14, will allow the legislature just to appropriate more monies from the general fund or wherever to cover these costs. We think it's more appropriate for those costs to come from the budget for the legislature's own operations. That already includes the cameras which are in play here today. That budget goes up by a constitutional formula. It went up 5% last year, went up 5% this year. We project it'll go 5% this year. That's 15% of annual increase in real terms, and the cost of this measure annually about 0.3%. We don't think taking 2% of a constitutionally mandated increase to improve your operations and devoting it to keeping the public better informed is an inappropriate use of the resources. Also, I will remark that in terms of matters that may touch the budget, we received from Legislative Council...
You have 10 seconds.
10 seconds, thank you. There's a letter we have submitted to Leg Council in response to Leg Council's questions to our initiative, which is now part of the public record. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Additional opposition.
Tom Scott, National Federation of Independent Business, strongly opposed to SCA 14. There is no reason to have dueling transparency initiatives on the fall ballot. I mean, it's absurd. So strongly opposed.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in opposition? Department of Finance?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Erica Lee with the Department of Finance, and there's no pile on this bill.
Great. I'm going to take the privilege to call rolls because I do think we have a quorum. Madam Secretary?
Gonzalez?
Present.
Bigelow? Present. Bloom? Here. Bonilla? Bonta? Calderon? Chang? Daly? Here. Eggman? Here. Gallagher? Garcia? Hernandez? Holden? Jones? Obanoti? Here. Quirk?
Here.
Santiago? Wagner?
Here.
Weber? Here. Wood?
Here.
Great. This enjoys a due pass recommendation. Do I have a motion? We have a motion by Dr. Weber, seconded by Mr. Quirk, and I believe we have a question from Mr. Obernolte.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator, I was curious about your response to what the opposition had brought up about the Proposition 140 cap on the legislature's spending and why the costs to comply prospectively under your legislation would come from outside the cap in the general fund instead of under the cap.
In our SCA 14, we are not specific about where the funds should come from. We say, and I quote, "The legislature shall make sufficient funds available to carry out the purposes of this section." So we are not specific about which funds they come from. Mr. Munger is very clear in his initiative that they should come from the legislature's budget. We think that is a disincentive to making certain that we do as much as possible in terms of the hearings to make sure that we record them, not only the ones in the Capitol building, but we make every effort to do any that are informational or anywhere else in the state as well. So we are not restricting ourselves to that budget, to the legislature's budget. We, however, say that this legislature shall make sufficient funds available to do the necessary tasks that will be specified in the constitutional amendment.
All right.
For transparency.
Well, thank you. And in a more general sense, can you address the other opposition that was raised about why we need two competing ballot measures on the ballot in November?
I don't think we need two competing measures. I believe the measure that we have put together with the extraordinary cooperation of both houses and Legislative Council is the superior measure. It goes beyond that measure, and we discussed that over 3 hearings for hours. We believe ours is, I would be glad to spend time with you and show you the areas that we believe we go further than that one.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Wagner?
Thank you, and Madam Chair and Senator for bringing the bill forward. In another context, I had an opportunity, not to drop names, but to have a conversation with the governor and raised with him a concern that my caucus has shared for virtually the entire, if not the entire 6 years that I've been here. And that is, we've done deals, especially in prior budget years when it was not a majority vote budget. We would do deals, and those would be the prices for the Republican votes for the budget. And then we would find, once we had a majority budget, that those deals got unwound next time around or 2 years down the road. The governor asked me for a list. We are compiling it. I will get it to him. But that underscores for me part of the problem I have with this bill. If you don't put the details and restrictions into the Constitution, and the Munger initiative does. Your initiative relies, as I understand it, on AB, 884 for some of its implementation. That can be undone by statute. And we have a history of, unfortunately, the legislature later changing by statute commitments it had made previously. And so my concern is, unless we go with the Munger initiative and put into the Constitution the types of transparency and openness we're talking about, the public would, frankly, rightly worry, and the temptation, frankly, I think would be there for this legislature to backslide, undo some of those protections, use the wiggle room it has with statute rather than constitutional limitations. I guess I would like your help with that, because I simply, in my 6 years here, just no longer see a way around it. And that's why I believe we've got to go with the Munger initiative rather than with SCR 14.
All right, I would be glad to spend more time on you to go into this in great detail, but during this process, we had the Legislative Council and others look carefully at his initiative. And there are flaws in that initiative. The Legislative Council has identified 10 of them that are very serious, that have to do with the 72-hour notice, which is extremely important, and which we have put into our constitutional amendment, and we're convinced that ours is solid. And we have added things. There's a great deal in this SCA 14 that is put in there deliberately, as they did in their initiative, in order to make certain that it has the heft of the constitutional amendment. We believe there were flaws in his. We have corrected them, and we, as I say, we have gone beyond that. We've gone beyond that in terms of the language on 72 hours, the fact that the issue involving the publishers who brought that to our attention, involving the problems with, or the benefit of putting in an initiative the issues of public domain and not asserting copyright to what is the public access to documents, that has been a barrier for lots of the public, many people in the public, to gaining information. That's why the publishers are supportive of our initiative, because we have corrected that, and that's a major thing. We've also changed we focused on hearings above and beyond those that are focused on in his initiative, and we commit to live broadcast. All SCAs have an implementing bill. What we changed about the way to change the implementing legislation, which is the statute and may be changed by the legislature, is it looks like the Political Reform Act. It has to have 12 days notice. There are a lot of disincentives for changing that. The requirement that if a bill does not honor the 72-hour notice, 72 hours in print notice, that bill will no longer be effective. That's in the Constitution. The requirement that the legislature fund these hearings that are enumerated in the Constitution. That's a lot. And that's a lot more than his does. So I would ask for your aye vote.
But you do agree with me that though there might be hurdles, it would be possible through legislation to make some changes to the provisions of SCA 14 that, frankly, you can't make with the Munger initiative if it is on the ballot and done through the Constitution.
There are flaws in his initiative that do not achieve the critical piece of this, which is the 72-hour notice.
Understood. Okay.
And having been involved in this for many years in attempts to get 72 hours and eliminate these gut and amend problems that we have as a legislature, we really put in the SCA. It has teeth.
Thank you.
And we think it goes beyond his.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yeah, just kind of a follow-up on the kind of the same subject we're talking about. You brought up the copyright issue and some other transparency issues that we need to deal with. So, for example, live streaming, removing the copyright protection, and placing legislative information in the public domain. Those are all good things to do in and of themselves.
Sure.
So why are we making that contingent on the passage of SCA 14 instead of let's just pass those right now, immediately? I mean, why right now, under as I understand it, those are now contingent upon whether or not we pass SCA 14. Let's just do it, right? We have the power to do that, right?
That's not what I'm bringing in front of you. I'm bringing that forward in addition to a number of other things that will increase transparency and accountability for the public. And there's one I left out, which is authorizing the members of the public who attended proceedings to actually make recordings as well. That does not exist.
Right, but why
currently.
are those things
So,
contingent on passage of SCA 14?
I believe it's important to put things in the Constitution that reflect transparency. This is our opportunity. We've gone beyond that's one area where we are going beyond, and we should.
All right. Mr. Bigelow.
Thank you to the author for her explanations. I appreciate her candor, and I've been watching this bill as it's moved forward. So I guess my question is bringing it back to the fiscal. The legislative analyst has estimated the cost of implementation of the CLRTA will be someplace between $1 and $2 million in the first year, and an additional $1 million per year in operating costs. Can you help us understand what you estimate the cost will be in implementing SCA 14 and its companion measure of AB 884?
Transparency is expensive, but it is essential to do that. If you look on page 3 of the SCA, beginning at the bottom, 34, you'll see the things that are put into the Constitution as our responsibility. And all floor sessions, AV recordings, committee proceedings at which a vote is taken or other action is recorded, the next several lines, all held in the state Capitol building regardless of whether a vote is taken or action recorded. Reasonable efforts to cause AV meetings, recordings to be made of all committee proceedings held outside the Capitol building at which no vote is taken and no vote is recorded. So if you go to the Salton Sea, or you go to Stanislaus County, or you go to Humboldt, we will make every effort to do that. It can be expensive, but we believe that the public access to the record is important. And there are several reasonable efforts to broadcast to the public. We have already begun, the Assembly and the Senate, the task of live broadcast. We are going to commit in the Constitution that we think that's an important thing to do, which goes beyond his initiative and reflects, frankly, the joint goal and belief of both houses. And I'm proud to carry this on behalf of our houses.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to reflect that the competing interest bill, Mr. Munger's, does though show that it exists with it will operate and function within the legislative branch's budget, and your bill will actually have to dig into the general fund, and it may cost more than what's been estimated, but just using the numbers, we're actually having to go into the general fund to dig these funds up, and that's going to cause repercussions to others who may have needed those funds even more. So I'm having just a little challenge with that, not a little, maybe a lot of a challenge with that part of the issue. Dollars are tight, and we're trying to be as fiscally responsible as we can in this committee. So I thank you for your responses.
Senator Welk, I just want to thank you for bringing this measure forward. Having a district on the other side of the state with constituents that don't have the opportunity to come to the Capitol, I appreciate their being able to access what is going on here. One of my concerns, of course, with the initiative as written, the Munger initiative as written, is that constraint you talked about. You know, will we actually be able to have select committees and committees down in a region like mine if we're limited by the legislative budget? And I think that all of us who live, the farther we live from here and the more remote we live from here, must wonder what the will be to have meetings that have to be televised when we're more limited resources are involved. So I thank you for bringing this forward. I think legislators should legislate, and we shouldn't legislate by initiative from outside, because we see exactly what happened here. 10 major problems with this with the Munger initiative, and so thank you for trying to correct that. And you're close. Oh, all right. Sorry, you're close.
I would just thank you for the discussion, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. That was a motion by Dr. Weber, a second by Mr. Quirk, and that gets off on a B roll call. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up, Ms. Galgiani, Senator Galgiani. You'll be presenting on SB 734. Enjoys the due pass recommendation.